Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here to talk to you because it's December and Christmas is in December, as well as other like Christmassy type holidays. And of course, in Sliders, there is that one and only Christmas episode. And it's a fairly decent episode. All right, so when I was younger, I like Christmas and stuff. As I got older, I don't know. It's kind of like it kind of just like really wasn't my thing no more. I started opening my gifts like way early as soon as they come in the mail instead of waiting till December. I don't know, it's just one of those things. But this episode is pretty cool. It's not your traditional sappy Christmas TV show episode like in most things where like there's a real Santa Claus and some magical person has to like, or not even a magical person has to like take over for Christmas Eve and deliver all the gifts and crap like that. Like, I get so tired of seeing stuff like that. But I do like Christmas episode that has a pretty good message, and this one has a pretty good message. It's trying to teach people Christmas is more than just buying gifts. South Park did an episode like that, similar, about consumerism and stuff like that. And Christmas isn't just about like receiving gifts. It's about being with your loved ones, joy to the world, and people who are close to you and why they mean to you. And that's why you buy them gifts. You just don't buy them gifts just to buy them gifts. You buy them gifts because, you love them and you want to show like your appreciation for them and what they mean to you and stuff. And I think this episode, it harpers on that. So this episode starts off with the Sliders going to this new world and they're walking around and Wade sees like a church and she says she wants to like light a candle and stuff like that because it's the holiday time and they lost track of time and they forgot that it's Christmas time. So as they're at the church and they're talking and stuff, this woman approaches the professor and hands him a baby and said, "Will you hold him for a while? She's gonna go, I think, like use the bathroom or talk to somebody or something like that." Anyway, some time passes and Wade comes back and she's like, "Oh, where'd you get this little guy from?" And the professor's like, "Oh, well, his mother's right." And then he can't find his mother. So they talk to the pastor and the pastor tells them what this world is about. And apparently this world is all about consumerism. It's all about like buying stuff and especially around holiday times. So they go to this place that's like a mall, like a live-in mall. And this is where the third season gets kind of weird with the whole bizarreness. This mall is actually in the sky. It's never truly 100% explained how and why this mall is in the sky. The sliders predict maybe they're on these like polums or something like that, and you just can't see them because they're like light reflected and invisible or something like that. But for now, let's just say there's a mall in the sky, like this gigantic building in the sky, and you have to get to it by an elevator. So anyway, when they go there, they start looking for the mother, and they really can't find them. But they've been sliding for a while, and they're hungry, so they have to get jobs. And since this is a living place with apartments and buildings and houses, so they take up residency there for a while. So they get jobs working like, Christmas elves and professor, of course, is Santa Claus, 'cause he's so big and stuff. And so, well, actually, before they started working there, I think they talked to like this waitress and they were like trying to figure out where they can find the mom. And so, like, they ordered some food and they were going to pay with cash. But in this world, they don't take cash, they take like this little credit type thing. And, of course, the sliders aren't from that world, so they're kind of like, well, we don't know what that is. And, they're starving. And then the ladies are like, oh, well, you can get like seasonal jobs at the little Christmas thing. And so that's what they do. And so as they're like in their little Christmas outfits, which is so cute, Wade outfit is so cute, but of course it's sexualized because this is that third season where everything's about action and sex and violence and weird science stuff. So the assistant manager lady, who she comes up, and it's played by the actress from Deep Space Nine. I just love this actress. And Wade is kind of like, oh my god, I can't deal with this right now. So she turns her head, and so the assistant manager lady's like talking to them, and Wade turns around with a big old smile on her face, and it turns to like dread because the lady doesn't recognize her. The reason being is because this is Wade's sister from another dimension. Well, from her, the Prime, Slider's Prime Earth. And Wade is so confused as to why her sister doesn't recognize her. So she assumes, Wade must not be alive on this world. And that's pretty much what it is. And this is kind of cool because we get a little backstory into Wade, which is something we've never really gotten before in the other two seasons. The only like backstory we ever really got is like Rembrandt and why he became a solo artist and why it flopped and the big band he'd be part of. And as for Quinn, we never really got truly like too much of a backstory. We know about his dad dying, and we know about like the gate that creaks, and we know he's a goofball and he's really smart, but that's really the only true backstory we got on Quinn. So it was kind of cool to get some backstory on Wade, and we also get some on the professor later on. My only problem with this backstory is that it's plot armor. Like it's only backstory because it serves the purpose of this story, and it would have been nice to like get some backstory for her earlier, but it just never happened. And so after they get their jobs, they're on the elevator, and this is where more of that tension between like Quinn and the others come in, because Wade is upset that her sister doesn't know her. Wade's upset that she's never gonna get home, and Quinn's kind of like, you are gonna get home one day, and she's just really upset. She's like, when, like, tell me when, because so far we haven't got home yet, and it's been 3 years, and it's really taking a toll on her. And that's what I really love. I love that character development and that tension between them, because that's something that's been building up a lot in this third season. With Rembrandt, it was ever since season 1, but with the other ones, they kind of just like, okay, whatever, And so it was really great to see that in the third season. It just sucks that the third season is a bizarre season. So also on this world is Wade's dad, and he's played by a completely different actor. He was played by one actor very briefly in the season 2 episode where they thought they was home, but they really wasn't. And that dude was just like a stand-in. So they probably just found somebody who was working on the show, or maybe somebody who was on the street. They're like, hey, stand in, And that was also, second season was filmed in Canada, and the third season was filmed in America. So they had to find a different actor. And I like Wade's dad. He's very warm. He's generous. Like, he not about consumerism. He's all about family, and that's what's so great. Well, his daughter's all about consumerism and like getting on that higher ladder to make yourself a better business person. However, there's one weird thing about this. In this episode, Wade's dad doesn't know who Wade is either, because Wade died apparently at childbirth along with the mother. And her dad in this episode is kinda into her a little bit. Like, he's a little flirtatious and stuff, which is very creepy. But to his defense, he doesn't know who this woman is. She's a complete stranger to him, and is not, and his Wade died at childbirth. So that's kind of weird. So that's like the plot A of this story. The plot B, of course, is the thing that started the whole thing off, is the professor trying to find the mother. He eventually does find her, and she said, she loves her son, but she can't take care of him because she's in so much debt. And he's better off in the flats. Now, the flats is where we all live, us people, down on the ground. And up above, it's like all these corporations, like malls and stuff. They think they're so much better than the people who live on the ground. So she runs off, and apparently on this like mall, they have these little bracelets that will light up. If you don't pay off your debt, the police come and get you. Now, the reason for that is that people in this mall constantly spend money like crazy. And it's a really bad habit that a lot of people in the mall have. And a lot of these people get arrested. And we find out later why that is. So there's a plot C in this story that has to do with Rembrandt, and it's very, very, very small. I wish they would have focused a little bit more on that, but they already have two different plot lines in their story, so it would have got convoluted. But they introduced this as kind of like, okay, this is why the people in this world are acting the way they are, and we're gonna have Rembrandt do that. So Rembrandt and Quinn are in the room, and Rembrandt is glued to TV. He's ordering stuff online, constantly buying. And Quinn is kind of like, yo, man, you don't love us that much. You don't need to like give us all these like gifts and, and crap like that. And then Rembrandt snaps on him, like literally snaps on him. And it's really weird because Rembrandt, at first I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is just character development from that tension. But no, Rembrandt is brainwashed. And then Quinn later finds out why. The reason for that is when they were all watching the TV, I think it was the professor that noticed this. There's a hidden message in the advertisement in these commercials. Like you'll watch like a regular commercial or a regular TV show, and there's a subliminal message in there that tells you gifts are good and buy more. And this is what caused people in the mall to like buy more stuff. And it's illegal to do this, but the guy who's in charge of this, but the guy's in charge, he's the first bad villain from the Charm, the good Charm, the original Charm, not the reboot Charm. God, that reboot. But let's go to the B plot of this story. So the professor finally tracks down the woman who left the baby at the church. And he goes in her house and they talk, and she tells him how like she's unable to pay her debt and this and that. And the professor tells her, look, you've been scammed, you've been brainwashed, this is why you can't pay your debt, and I am going to help you. Then he tells a very, very, very touching story about when he was a little boy, which goes into his backstory. Now, I don't know if this, now like I said before, this is the bad professor that slid back in season 2. I am almost 100% positive that it is. And I don't know if this same story happened to our professor from the Prime universe, but since their worlds were so similar, it's a good possibility. And he tells her back in the old days during the Second World War, how when he was a little boy, he was living in England and there were bombs going all around their house, and how like something happened. I think before that his dad made him like a little toy car for Christmas, and it was like the only gift he had. And then after he was separated from his dad, 'cause his dad was in the war and they had to move to like America and stuff, he still held on to that little wooden car. And he cherished it for like a long time until he finally got to be reunited with his father again. That was just like a really like just touching thing. It's kind of like you don't hear those moments coming from the professor. Normally when you do, it's about why he loves to teach, or his dead wife. But we really don't get no backstory from him. Not even in the past seasons really all that much, just like with Wade. So that was a really nice touch. So now for the C plot of our stories, and towards the end, the Professor Rembrandt and his other sliders are going to try to expose the whole brainwashing thing of subliminal messaging. So the professor and Rembrandt are in their Christmas outfits, and they are trying to teach the kids the value of consumerism is not the best thing for Christmas, and to cherish your family and being a good person, for the entire year, not because you want presents, but just because being good is the best thing for all humanity. So they're doing that. And they're also being monitored, so they get caught by the bad guy. And that gives Wade and Quinn time to go into the bad guy's office, hack his computer, and try to uncover like the big mystery of like what this whole season's about and his big brainwashing plot. So we get to see some of Wade's computer skills again in the third season, which is nice because we don't see it in the second or the first season, despite her working in a computer store. But they have to give her something to do other than being the damsel in distress. So they try to hack it, but they get the wrong password and the alarms go off. So as they're about to bolt, the Wade's sister comes in. And she's ready to call the police, but Wade's all like, okay, look, I know you're not going to probably believe me, but I'm your sister from parallel dimension, and this and this and that. And so the lady's kind of like, what the world are you talking about? So Wade starts telling her things about like her past that happened to her other sister, happened to her sister, hoping they would be similar to this sister. I think her sister name's Kelly. I can't really remember. And she's all like, okay, that never happened. This happened this way. So Wade keeps giving like more stories. And then she finally hits the nail in the coffin with the right story about something about there was some boy that her sister liked, and something about like she had a crush on him, and she told him and he rejected her, and she ran home crying and something like that. And her sister's all like, well, I never told nobody that story, so how would you know unless you really are my sister from another world? Which, okay, it baffles me how people in these other dimensions believe the Sliders. Like, as soon as they hear this story, it's kind of like, yeah, you sound kind of crazy. I'm finna call the police so you can go in the nut house type of thing. But I mean, unless you see them coming from the wormhole or something like that, then I'll believe them. but the story has to move along. So she gets the right password for the computer, and Quinn and Wade shows them how they've been like putting subliminal messaging and messages and all the debt that has gone up since like her boss, who has a crush on her, has been working there. So after all that, they find Rembrandt and the professor about to get arrested by the bad guy, and they tell him, hey, we know you're a big secret and subliminal messaging and this and that and blah, 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 blah. And, but before that, the bad guy was going to put Rembrandt in jail because I'm like, oh, you can't pay your debt, Rembrandt, because Rembrandt's been spending a lot. But, after Quinn saves the day about revealing the big secret, the bad guy tries to run, and Quinn does his superhero thing and chases after him, then give him the 1-2 punch, and then, just the one punch, because, Quinn's really good with just that one punch. And then he gives his big heroic speech, and then the episode ends with them all at Wade's sister and dad's house, and Wade's going through like the photo album and looking at pictures of her mom and dad and sister from the other dimension, and the dad still does not know. Okay, that dad still does not know. And the professor and the lady and the baby, they're having their moment, and she asks him, did you ever get reunited with your dad? And he's like, yeah, he did, many years later. And then they're all about to slide. The professor kisses the lady goodbye, which I always thought was kind of weird because she's so much younger than him. And it was never hinted they had like a romance going on, so that was probably just thrown in for his benefit. He doesn't really get to kiss that many people as much as like Quinn does on the show. or Rembrandt used to back in season one. So they all take this big like Christmas picture, and then they go outside to slide, and Wade's are like, "Will you tell him?" So of course Kelly tells them all about sliding off camera, and then as soon as they slide, which Rembrandt actually got to hold the timer and do the little um vortex opening thing, which is very rare because he never really gets to do it. So then they slide, and like the dad isn't like puzzled at all about like the wormhole or confused or shocked. He just accepts it for what it is, and it's just like he just got told this like a few seconds ago off camera. So it's kind of like it's just always weird how people believe that stuff. But it would have been nice to have a reaction, and then the episode ends. I like this episode; it's enjoyable. Um, I'm not really like the Christmassy episode movie type person. But for me, like I like a Christmas story. That's the only movie I'll watch for Christmas time, and I'll watch like Christmas type episodes from TV shows, cause those are always pretty enjoyable and fun to watch. Like the Sabrina Teenage Witch one, or the one from The Haunting Hour. That was crazy. Y'all have to watch that. Like it's the most bizarre Christmas episode y'all would ever watch. It's insane. I think this is on Amazon, but I think you have to pay, so it sucks. But yeah. But all in all, I like this episode. Some of the things I would have changed. I would have explained better how the mall floats up in the air. They just give like a throwaway line of like like hover technology, something like that. Or it's on like a mountain, or it's on these big poles, but you can't see them because like they're invisible or something like that. Or just show the poles. So I would have explained that. Um, I would have had more interaction with Wade and her sister because they barely got any screen time because she was pretty much just talking to Quinn or the bad guy the whole time. But it was nice seeing Wade have some interaction with her dad. However, I wouldn't have him be creepy, kind of flirty with her a little bit. Um, I would have emphasized more on Rembrandt being brainwashed and maybe him getting arrested for not paying off his debt. Because that was like the big like B plot of the story. And there wasn't really that much of the A plot because Wade didn't really interact with her sister that much. So I would have focused more on the B plot and how all these people can't pay their debt and seeing them getting arrested, and just how like people are like fine with it, and like how can you be fine with that type of like oppression? But that's pretty much like really the only thing I would like change with the whole thing. Oh, and I would have kept them in their Christmas outfits a whole lot more because that was really fun to see them dressed like that. Some more touchy moments with the professor and that lady would have been nice. More like dramatic touchy moments, not like romantic touchy moments, but like just dramatic. How she loves her son so much, and like it breaks her heart to give him away. It would have been nice to see her cry when she opened the door to the professor, but she's just nonchalant and pissed off that he found her and stuff. But yeah, that was cool. All right, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.